Stop scrolling right now, because what you are about to read will shake your soul, it will open your eyes, and it will make you realize that justice is already on its way, faster than you ever imagined, and those who have betrayed you will face the consequences that have been written long before you even knew their hearts. God sees every lie, every backstab, every deceitful whisper, every hidden agenda, and nothing escapes His notice, and while you may feel powerless, while you may feel broken and abandoned, know this: divine justice does not sleep, it does not delay unnecessarily, and it does not fail, and the people who thought they could cheat you, manipulate you, or destroy your life will soon find that their actions have summoned forces far beyond human understanding, for betrayal is not just a crime against you, it is a crime against the order of life itself, against the sacred bond of trust that God placed in human hearts, and when that bond is broken, the universe itself responds, and every lie they told, every plan they plotted, every moment they laughed at your pain, every time they pretended to be your friend while stabbing you in the back, is being recorded in ways you cannot see, ways you cannot measure, ways that you cannot imagine, and the timing is perfect, because God's ways are not ours. His timing is impeccable, and those who betray others often think they are safe, but safety is an illusion, and the sooner they realize that, the sooner the correction begins, and correction may come in subtle ways first: a missed opportunity here, a loss there, a warning in the shadows, signs that they ignore at first, thinking the world is still theirs to manipulate, thinking the people they harmed are powerless. But every step they take now is moving them closer to the inevitable. And as the walls of deceit crumble around them, as the people they used rise stronger and wiser, they will understand that nothing in life is permanent except the truth, and the truth is a weapon sharper than any sword, more relentless than any army, and God wields it with precision, and the betrayal they committed will no longer be hidden, it will be exposed, it will be revealed, and the shame, the fear, the panic, the anxiety that they thought they escaped will come crashing down in ways they never saw coming, because God's punishment is not about cruelty, it is about balance, it is about restoring what was broken, it is about protecting those who were wronged, it is about ensuring that evil does not continue unchecked, and the people who betrayed you will feel the weight of this justice in ways that will humble them, break their arrogance, strip their illusions of power, and force them to confront the reality that life is not a game where lies go unanswered, and while you may have wept, while you may have suffered in silence, while you may have questioned your faith, God was never absent, God was never unaware, and God has been preparing the storm that will right the wrongs committed against you, and you will witness it in your life, not because you are seeking revenge, but because the universe has a way of correcting itself, because divine justice does not discriminate, because karma is real, because betrayal always carries a cost, and sooner than they think, they will face that cost, and the fear they ignored, the compassion they rejected, the loyalty they betrayed, will become their reality, their nightmare, and they will finally see what it feels like to be powerless, to be exposed, to be judged, to be corrected, and you will be there, not in bitterness, not in hatred, but in victory, because your integrity, your faith, your perseverance, your refusal to sink to their level, your patience, and your trust in God have been your shield and your sword, and as the truth unfolds, as justice is delivered, as the universe balances the scales, you will realize that every tear, every heartbreak, every betrayal was not wasted, it was preparing you, it was strengthening you, it was positioning you for a victory so complete, so overwhelming, that the people who tried to destroy you will see the result of their actions in full clarity, and they will understand that nothing escapes God's watchful eyes. Nothing escapes His justice, nothing escapes His timing, and while they scramble to fix what they can, it will be too late, because the seeds of betrayal they planted will grow only into their downfall, while the seeds of faith, patience, and righteousness you planted in your own life will bloom into blessings, abundance, protection, opportunities, and peace, far beyond what you imagined, and the people who doubted you, mocked you, deceived you, and betrayed you will finally recognize the power of God's justice, the certainty of His plans, the precision of His timing, and the inevitability of their reckoning, and as they struggle with the consequences, as they face the reality that life is not a game of deceit, that actions have repercussions, that lies and betrayal cannot escape the natural order of divine law, you will stand tall, not out of pride, not out of malice, not out of revenge, but out of faith, trust, and victory, knowing that God is with you, God is for you, and the betrayal that once hurt you is now turning into a story of triumph. Revelation, awakening, and unstoppable justice that will echo in the lives of everyone involved, and they will never forget the day when their deceit, their manipulation, their betrayal, was answered in ways they never anticipated, in ways that could only come from the hand of God Himself, in ways that remind us all that betrayal is not a joke, it is not a minor mistake, it is not something that goes unnoticed, and that sooner than they think, the very forces they thought they controlled will turn against them, and every secret, every lie, every betrayal, will be exposed, revealed, corrected, and punished, and you, the one who suffered, will rise not only stronger but wiser, more resilient, more courageous, more blessed, more ready to embrace the life that was always meant for you, the life that betrayal tried to steal but could not. The life that God has been carefully preparing while the betrayers were too blind to see the consequences coming, and as this unfolds, as their punishment arrives sooner than they imagined, as divine justice moves with unstoppable momentum, you will witness the ultimate truth, that God never abandons, God never misses, God never allows evil to triumph indefinitely, God ensures that every betrayal meets its reckoning, and that every person who has wronged another will face the consequences, sometimes subtly, sometimes swiftly, but always perfectly, always completely, always justly, and in this, you will find peace, not in revenge, not in malice, but in the certainty that God's hand is moving, God's eyes are watching, and God's justice is inevitable, and as you watch the cycle of betrayal and divine punishment unfold, as those who thought they were untouchable are humbled, as the truth emerges, as integrity triumphs, as patience and faith reward you, you will understand that life is not about escaping betrayal, life is about trusting the one who sees all, who knows all, who balances all, and who will always ensure that what is broken, what is stolen, what is betrayed, is corrected in ways humans cannot fathom, in ways that are faster than they expect, more certain than they imagine, more precise than they could ever plan, and this knowledge, this truth, this certainty, is your shield, your strength, your comfort, your motivation, your unstoppable force, and as the betrayers face the consequences of their actions sooner than they think, as divine justice unfolds with perfect timing, you will be reminded that God is never late, God is never wrong, God is never powerless, and that betrayal, no matter how cruel, no matter how secret, no matter how devastating, will always meet its reckoning, its punishment, and its correction, and while they scramble to understand why life turned against them, while they panic, while they lose control, while their plans crumble, you will stand firm, calm, empowered, uplifted, blessed, victorious, and fully aware that God has been orchestrating this all along, that your faith has been your armor, that your integrity has been your guide, that your patience has been your strength, and that every tear, every heartbreak, every moment of suffering, has been the preparation for a triumph so complete, so undeniable, so divinely orchestrated, that the betrayers will never forget the day justice arrived sooner than they imagined, and you will emerge from it not only intact but transformed, renewed, elevated, and positioned for blessings, protection, abundance, and fulfillment that betrayal could never touch, and in this, the ultimate lesson becomes clear. trust in God. Stay faithful, stay righteous, stay patient, stay strong, and know that the people who betray you will face consequences, sooner than they think, more surely than they imagine, and more perfectly than you could ever hope for, because God is just, God is watchful, God is precise, and God's timing is flawless, and the victory, the restoration, the justice, the exposure, and the ultimate triumph of truth over deceit will be your reality, your story, your testimony, and your reminder that betrayal is never the end. It is only the beginning of God's unstoppable justice that will always arrive sooner than anyone expects, and it will be complete, perfect, irreversible, and undeniable, and those who betrayed you will finally understand that nothing escapes divine justice, nothing escapes God's eyes, nothing escapes the ultimate reckoning, and that the day they thought they had won was the day they sealed their own defeat, and your life, your strength, your resilience, your blessings, your faith, your unwavering trust in God, your patience, your courage, your righteousness, will all stand as proof that betrayal cannot and will not succeed when God is watching, and the punishment for betrayal is not delayed, it is not avoided, it is not flawed, it is certain, precise, and unstoppable, and sooner than they think, they will face it, fully, completely, and without escape, while you rise, triumphant, unshakable, blessed, and fully aware that God is the ultimate judge, the ultimate protector, and the ultimate deliverer, and that no betrayal, no matter how cruel, no matter how secret, no matter how devastating, can ever withstand His justice, His timing, and His unstoppable power, and as they crumble under the weight of their actions, as every lie, every deceit, every hidden plan, every betrayal meets its reckoning sooner than they think, you will stand, victorious, blessed, fulfilled, strengthened, enlightened, and fully aware that God has never left you, God has never abandoned you. God has been orchestrating every step, every tear, every heartbreak, every betrayal, and turning it all into a story of triumph, restoration, exposure, victory, justice, and blessings that are beyond imagination, and this is the ultimate truth, the ultimate reality, the ultimate assurance, that betrayal does not go unanswered, it does not escape, it does not hide, and that sooner than anyone imagines, divine justice will prevail, and you, the one who was betrayed, will be the living witness of God's perfect timing, God's unstoppable justice, God's flawless restoration, God's undeniable power, and the absolute certainty that those who betray others will face the consequences, sooner than they think, perfectly, completely, and irreversibly. And as this divine process continues, something extraordinary begins to happen inside you as well, because while God is dealing with those who betrayed you, He is also rebuilding you from the inside out, strengthening parts of your soul you didn't even know existed, sharpening your discernment so you will never again mistake manipulation for love or deception for loyalty, and this is where the real shift happens, because betrayal often feels like loss at first, but in reality it is separation, separation from people who were never meant to walk with you into your next season, separation from fake connections that would have drained your destiny, separation from alliances that were blocking your blessings, and when God removes people through betrayal, He is not punishing you, He is protecting you, and the irony is that those who thought they were hurting you were unknowingly being used as instruments to push you closer to your purpose, and this is why their punishment is inevitable, because they played with something sacred, they interfered with a divine plan, they attempted to derail what God Himself was orchestrating, and no one interferes with God's plan without consequences, because betrayal is not just personal, it is spiritual. It creates a ripple effect that moves through time, through relationships, through opportunities, through destiny itself, and while you may have questioned why God allowed it, why He stayed silent, why He didn't expose them immediately, the truth is that silence is often preparation, and delay is often strategy, because when God allows betrayers to continue for a while, it is not because He approves, it is because He is letting them reveal themselves fully, letting them dig deeper, letting them become comfortable in their deception, so that when justice arrives, there is no confusion, no doubt, no escape, and this is why their punishment often feels sudden to them, because while they were busy celebrating what they thought was victory, God was quietly aligning circumstances, people, and truth in ways they could not see, and when it hits from every direction at once. Their reputation begins to crack, their peace disappears, their confidence turns into paranoia, the very people they trusted start questioning them, opportunities dry up, relationships fall apart, and they start experiencing the same confusion, betrayal, and abandonment they once inflicted on you, because divine justice is poetic like that. It doesn't just punish, it educates, it teaches through experience, it forces people to feel what they refused to understand when it was happening to someone else, and suddenly they realize that the universe is no longer responding to them the way it used to. Doors that once opened easily are now closed, conversations don't go their way, favor is gone. And no matter how hard they try to regain control, something invisible is working against them, and that something is the balance being restored, because what was stolen must be returned, what was broken must be corrected, and what was betrayed must be answered, and while all of this unfolds, you are no longer the same person who was hurt, you are calmer now, stronger, more grounded, less reactive, more aware, because pain has a way of stripping illusions and leaving behind clarity, and clarity is power. And this is another reason betrayal backfires, because it often awakens the very strength it tried to destroy, and those who betrayed you underestimated this. They thought your kindness was weakness, your silence was ignorance, your patience was submission, but patience is not passive, it is powerful restraint, it is trust in timing, it is alignment with something bigger than human emotion, and that alignment is what shields you while exposing them, because when you stay aligned with integrity, even when you are hurt, even when you are misunderstood, even when you are wronged, you place yourself under divine protection, and divine protection does not always look like immediate rescue. Sometimes it looks like endurance, sometimes it looks like isolation, sometimes it looks like being misunderstood for a season, but every protected season leads to promotion, and every betrayal season leads to revelation. And this is where paths begin to separate dramatically, because while you are growing, healing, elevating, learning, and becoming more discerning, the betrayers are stagnating. Repeating patterns, lying to cover lies, manipulating to maintain control, and the weight of that eventually becomes unbearable, because living without integrity is exhausting, and no one can outrun truth forever, and this is when the punishment accelerates. Because God does not need to chase people down, He simply removes His covering, and when that happens, people collapse under the weight of their own actions. And they call it bad luck, they call it coincidence, they call it unfair, but deep down they know, because the soul always knows when justice has arrived, and this is why you may notice them becoming defensive, angry, restless, anxious, obsessed with your progress. Because your peace becomes a mirror reflecting their chaos, and nothing triggers a betrayer more than seeing the person they tried to destroy thriving without them, smiling without them, moving forward without revenge, because that exposes the lie they told themselves. The lie that you needed them, the lie that they had power over your destiny, and that realization is its own punishment, because it humbles them in ways public exposure never could, and meanwhile God continues to reward your restraint, not because you were perfect, but because you chose faith over bitterness, growth over revenge, trust over retaliation, and this choice places you on a higher frequency, a higher path, where what once hurt you can no longer reach you. And this is why the punishment of betrayal often happens sooner than expected once you truly let go, because holding on to resentment delays your elevation, but releasing it accelerates divine justice, because release is a declaration of trust, and trust invites intervention, and intervention is exactly what is happening now, even if you can't see all of it yet, because divine justice rarely announces itself in advance, it simply arrives, and when it does, it leaves no confusion. And as you look back one day, you will realize that the betrayal was the turning point, not because it broke you, but because it redirected you, refined you, and repositioned you, and the people who betrayed you will realize it too, but from the opposite side of the outcome, because while you gained clarity, strength, and peace, they lost credibility, stability, and direction, and this contrast is not accidental, it is correction, it is balance, it is the natural law of cause and effect guided by a higher intelligence. And this is why you are being asked to stay patient just a little longer. To stay grounded, to stay faithful, to stay focused on your own growth, because the story is not finished yet, and the consequences are still unfolding, and when they fully arrive, they will not need your commentary, your validation, or your involvement, because justice does not require witnesses to be real, it simply is, and the final outcome will speak louder than anything you could ever say. And you will finally understand that God didn't delay your justice, He perfected it, He made it undeniable, irreversible, and complete, and when the dust settles, when the truth stands alone, when the noise fades, you will be standing in a place you once prayed for, stronger than you imagined, wiser than before, protected in ways you can finally recognize, and fully aware that what tried to destroy you only succeeded in elevating you, and those who betrayed you did not escape. They were simply given time to reveal themselves fully, and now that time is ending, and the consequences are beginning, sooner than they think, exactly as they should, exactly when they should, and exactly how divine justice intended. And the deeper truth that begins to surface now is that betrayal does not only expose the character of the one who committed it, it also reveals the destiny of the one who survived it, because not everyone who is betrayed is meant to stay broken, some are meant to be awakened, refined, and elevated, and this is why your story did not end at the moment of pain, because pain was never the conclusion. It was the initiation, it was the moment where illusions fell apart so truth could step in, and truth always brings freedom, even when it first arrives disguised as loss, and this is where many people misunderstand God's justice. They think punishment must look dramatic, immediate, loud, but divine punishment is far more intelligent than human revenge. It targets the root, not the surface, it dismantles foundations, not appearances, and while the betrayer may still be smiling publicly, inside things are unraveling quietly, sleep becomes difficult, peace disappears, fear replaces confidence, trust becomes impossible, because a person who betrays others eventually lives in constant expectation of betrayal themselves, and that internal prison is one of the earliest forms of punishment, because freedom cannot exist where deceit rules, and the mind becomes its own enemy, replaying lies, fearing exposure, anticipating consequences, and while they are busy fighting battles inside themselves, you are slowly reclaiming parts of your life you thought were lost forever, your voice, your self-respect, your boundaries, your intuition, and this reclamation is powerful because it is irreversible. Once you see clearly, you cannot unsee, once you grow, you cannot shrink, and this growth places you beyond their reach, beyond their influence, beyond their manipulation, and that realization terrifies them more than any confrontation ever could, because control was the only power they had. And now it is gone, and this is when the universe begins closing in from the outside. As well, because internal collapse is always followed by external consequences, relationships strain, alliances weaken, support disappears, and the same tactics that once worked no longer produce results, because deception has an expiration date, and theirs is approaching rapidly, and this is why you may notice strange shifts, sudden obstacles, unexpected losses, and unexplainable resistance in their life. Because what they put into the world is now returning with precision, and precision is the signature of divine justice. It does not miss, it does not rush, it does not fail, and while all this unfolds, you are being prepared for expansion, not just survival, expansion in mindset, expansion in opportunities, expansion in purpose, because God never allows betrayal without also providing growth, and the level of betrayal you experienced is often connected to the level of destiny you carry. Because small destinies do not require intense refinement, but great ones do, and this is why what hurt you felt unbearable at the time, because it was stripping you of what could not go with you into your next season, and those who betrayed you were never meant to walk where you are going, and deep down they sensed it, which is why envy, insecurity, and fear fueled their actions, because betrayal often comes from people who see your potential before you fully do, and instead of honoring it, they try to sabotage it. And that choice seals their fate, because interfering with someone else's purpose carries consequences far beyond personal loss. It attracts divine correction, and divine correction is unavoidable, and as you continue moving forward, something else shifts, your compassion deepens but your tolerance for disrespect disappears, your heart remains open but your boundaries become firm, and this balance is sacred, because it allows you to love without being naive, to trust without being blind, and to move with faith without being foolish, and this new version of you is unrecognizable to those who betrayed you, because they only knew the version they could manipulate, and now that version no longer exists, and that loss is permanent, and it is one of the greatest punishments of all, losing access to someone who genuinely cared, someone who would have stood by them, someone who offered loyalty without conditions, and once that door closes, it does not reopen, because wisdom locks it quietly and permanently. And as this reality settles in, they begin to understand that betrayal did not elevate them, it isolated them, it did not empower them, it exposed them, and the very advantage they thought they gained has turned into a disadvantage they cannot escape, because trust, once broken, never returns the same, and the world has a way of responding differently to those who violate it. Opportunities come with hesitation, people approach with caution, and nothing flows naturally anymore. Because integrity is currency, and they spent it recklessly, while you preserved yours. Through pain, through silence, through restraint, and that preservation is now paying dividends you could not see at the time, because integrity compounds, it grows quietly, it attracts favor invisibly, and one day it manifests suddenly, and when it does, it looks like overnight success to outsiders, but you know the truth, you know the nights you cried, the moments you doubted, the times you chose faith over anger. And that is why your rise will be stable, sustainable, and protected, while their fall will feel confusing, chaotic, and uncontrollable, because anything built on betrayal cannot stand, and this is the final truth that settles everything, that betrayal is never the winning move, it is the countdown, the beginning of an end disguised as a shortcut, and sooner than they think, the weight of their actions will fully catch up to them, not because you wished for it, not because you demanded it, but because justice operates independently of human desire, and while they face what they created, you will step fully into what was prepared for you all along, not bitter, not broken, not vengeful, but clear, grounded, grateful, and unshakable, fully aware now that what was meant to harm you became the very thing that aligned you with your true path, and that realization will stay with you forever, because once you see how perfectly God weaves justice, growth, and destiny together, you stop fearing betrayal, you stop fearing loss, and you start trusting the process. Knowing with certainty that nothing is wasted, nothing is missed, and nothing escapes divine order, especially betrayal, which will always, without exception, meet its reckoning sooner than those who committed it ever expect.